Welcome to Beyond the Abstract, the Rice Graduate Podcast, which is an official inside look inside grad life at Rice University. I am your host, Jennifer Hunter, Assistant Dean in the Office of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. In my role, I get a front row seat to all of the questions that applicants ask, and I know how daunting the journey to grad school can be. So whether you're staring at a blank personal statement, weighing the pros and cons of a master's or Ph.D., this is the podcast that's going to help you figure those things out. Today, we are breaking down the entire grad school gamut. Is an advanced degree actually for everyone? Why should you do it? And what does it take to get there? So to help me unpack all of this, I'm joined by two of our fantastic graduate student ambassadors who represent both sides of the graduate coin. Please welcome Damith, who is a master's student here at Rice, and Manuel, who is a Ph.D. candidate here at Rice, and welcome to the show. So welcome to Beyond the Abstract, the Rice Graduate Podcast, the official look inside grad life and the application process at Rice University. I'm your host, Jennifer Hunter, Assistant Dean in the Office of Grad and Postdoc Studies, and I am joined here with two of our graduate students, our amazing students, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So Damith, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so my name is Damith and I'm currently graduate student I'm doing my master's with environment analysis in my first year right now. And I had 2 more semesters to go and looking forward to this podcast.
Excellent. And Manuel, you next?
Yeah, my name is Manuel Carmona Pichardo. I'm a 5th year, so about to graduate. So we have both corners of grad students. I'm doing PhD in chemistry. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here today and talk about the journey. And I really like the perspective of having like the beginning versus the end.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's get started at the beginning for both of you then. So take me back to the beginning. So why did you decide, grad school is going to be a good fit for me and I'm going to pursue this? And you're both international students, so why pursue it in the United States? So Damith, I'll start with you again. Just take us through that story of how you started this process for yourself.
Yeah, so my story actually went back to 2022. I came here as a global grad, just to for one exchange semester in Alaska. So I actually did one semester in USA back in 2022, Alaska, and that experience actually changed my point of view about this foreign studies, go to a different country that you've never been before, and then getting to know all these new cultures and different areas. And I was so interested, and the way when I came back to Sri Lanka, the Fulbright, commission in Sri Lanka, they contacted me, and then they're you can also apply Fulbright scholarship. And I applied, and I got selected. And then the next process was selecting a best fit for me. So commission really helped me with that, and then with my passion, what I really want to do in my life. So I have a couple of options. Why Rice specifically? One thing, the climate. I really I was okay, the call. I would something related to Sri Lanka, and then also this is the one of the biggest energy center, and I was also interested with energy and then also environment protection side. So I was yeah, I think this could be very a best fit for me. I was nervous because I never when I tried to reach out some people who were from Sri Lanka, I couldn't barely find anyone. I was kind of nervous in the beginning, but the moment I came here, when I see that community here, especially Fulbright, and also the other people that I met here, so it's make me feel like home. So yeah, that's my basically the story how I end up at Rice.
So I know this makes more sense now because I know over the winter break you had gone to Alaska, and I was like, what a choice to go to this very freezing climate in the middle of winter. But it makes more sense now because you have ties there. So
Yes.
What is Global U? What is that about?
So Global U is a undergraduate exchange program.
Okay.
So they will be selecting at least 1 or 2 people from every country, and then you will be assigned to a different state in USA. So I was assigned in Alaska, and then my 2 other friends, they were in Denver and they one in New York. And it's pretty much get to know different cultures, different people from coming from different countries, and then have an understanding of what's the global education look like.
Yeah.
So that's actually opened a lot of sense of, oh wow, this is real, it's just not Sri Lanka, you could learn a lot of things get into this program. And also for me, coming from a background, we are not multi-million or something like that. So like, giving us that sort of opportunity like a scholarship, it's actually helped like the community around me, like, inspire a lot of people in my community. So that's pretty much about the global U grad. And then actually I end up in like, different program Fulbright because of that. So I'm so grateful for that.
So it continued your journey, global U to Fulbright and now to Rice, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
but I like that perspective of like so many people when they ask us, like when we have like chats about that, like there's like, oh, what's the thing you like most about Houston? And normally the one that comes the opposite is like, oh, why you don't like the weather? But then I talk for like, for example, people also from like Nigeria or from other places of Africa, India, or even like Australia, and they're like, oh, I feel like home here. Like if I would have gone to like Michigan, like further up, or if I go to Chicago, I would like be freezing. So it's a very interesting.
And Damith's been here in August, so he knows.
Oh, yeah,
So
he knows.
He knows about it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. So Manuel, what about you? How did you get to Rice? How did you decide? Okay, I'm going to go to this to grad school. I'm going to get my master's. All those things.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I had a master's before coming. So I did my undergrad in Mexico, and then I did 1 semester abroad in Finland during my undergrad, and then I went to do my master's in Germany. And during that time, after I graduate, I was like, okay, I'm done with school. I got my master's, I'm free. I don't want to go to school ever again. Who would have thought? And
6 years later.
yeah, here we are, and a pandemic in between. But more than that is I started doing like research projects. So I actually started working with the DAD, that is the equivalent to NSF, but in Germany. And I went first to Finland again, and then I had a research project at Rice University. So I came first here as a guest researcher.
Okay.
I was in the BRC and I was working there, so I got the view of the university, but I wasn't a student or a permanent staff. So I was somewhere in between, but I did get to meet people at Rice and to see some of the culture. And at that time, I still was unsure if I wanted to continue with the PhD because since at that point, like also my perspective of the PhD was like, if you want to become a PI, if you want to have your own group, then you need a PhD. If you want to go to industry or do something else, then you don't need a PhD.
Right.
So it was one of those like very like two ways.
Right. And yeah, and that's not entirely accurate.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
So maybe we should start there as the next point. So what exactly is a PhD and a master's? Can you kind of describe what your experience with that has been?
I think like especially in the difference between when I did my master's and when I did a PhD, and now that I have 2 masters, is that the PhD part or the PhD aspect is a lot of how to become independent, how to run you are now running the show, for sort of speaking. When I was doing my master's, also the system in Europe is a tiny bit different, but it was a lot of like I worked with PhD students and undergraduates, but I was like the in-between level. So like the main project, the main lead was of course, the PI, and then came the PhD student, and I was working with them. And then, so once you become the PhD, like, yes, there's the PI, postdocs, and then there's you, but you have more agency. And also, I think like the PhD is a lot of like, you have to make your own story. You have to build your own path because it's where you're going to decide. Like, if I want to be a PI, then I have to go the postdoc route. Or if I want to go to industry, maybe I need to focus my work into more applied or similar like this. While in the masters, I felt it more like still school, but I don't know what Damith feels right now with the masters.
Yes. So for me, what's masters look like for me is basically like in my undergraduate, like, I was like really curious of learning different new things. So my journey is pretty much, I really want to be in the entrepreneur side, like, come up with solutions, like, building up startups and all. So when I come up with all the solution, what I realized is sometimes I lack in some informations like, real knowledge or like, real professional, like expertise knowledge. So I was like, okay, I did an undergraduate, so I might have a solution in my master's if I do a master's in a specific program. Like, in undergraduate, it's like pretty much you learn everything. Like, in your, like, if you do a business or engineering, like, you learn like, different, like, areas, like, you're not specifically going one route. But for me, I feel like, okay, environment is like very close to me, and they're like, protection of it, and they're like, doing something about it. I think I need to do one specific thing. And then I was like, okay, masters could be one thing. And then I was looking into different areas, like, degrees available. And I see a lot of like, environment analysis, like, carbon emission, energy, like, different areas. I was like, okay, this could be the path. So I selected a master's just because I want to kind of narrow down my route, and then okay, if this could be that spark for me to start my venture in towards sustainability or environment protection. So that's how that's my point of view was doing a master's. So my journey so far, you narrow down and then start your new journey.
And so what I've heard most from students is a master's degree will help you get expertise and ultimately have mastery in a specific topic. And then a PhD, you're really generating original knowledge, something that's never been done before. You're trying to figure out how the world works, or a unique solution to something. So they're two different paths. And I would say for master's degrees, there could be a research component. But for PhD, there's always going to be a research component. So you really need to make sure that you love research when you're getting into a PhD. And I want to go back to something that Manuel touched on about the European system being very, very different. I don't think it's just Europe. I think in a lot of places, it can be really different in that. And my understanding is that in some of these places, you need to have a really defined idea of, I'm going to work with this faculty member if they're accepting applications on this specific topic. And for Rice and for many institutions in the US, it's really more about, I'm going to go and try something out and explore what I might want to do. And I don't need to have a defined idea of what I'm actually going to be studying before I apply. Is that your understanding of how the models work?
Yeah, especially because at least the way there's specific programs that are new now, but it used to be that if you want to do the PhD first, you needed to get the master's. It was separate programs. You have the master's, you defend your master's, and then you apply to the PhD. And normally applying to the PhD was tied to a specific researcher. So that researcher needed to have space in the lab, the availability, and then of course, you have to come to an agreement with the professor that they will take you in. Not we didn't have that cohort system that exists here that you just apply to the university. Also, that component of in Mexico right now exists that idea of the direct PhD, that you come out of undergrad and then you can enter a program that is basically similar to what it is right now. But I didn't know about that. And it's also that thing of since you have to arrange with a professor to get in, and to enter the lab, the fact that here is I applied to 10 universities. It's what? At least for me, was one of the novelties. I remember my first day at Rice, that it's orientation and everyone is so which ones did you apply? Which ones did you got in? And I was I applied to Rice. And you got in? I was well, here I am. And what else? Rice. I'm they were you only applied to Rice? Are you crazy? And I was I didn't know you could apply to more.
Oh, yeah. That's a really important thing to
Yeah.
mention. Yeah, many students apply to multiple programs, and it can get really expensive, right? So you should always ask for fee waivers. We'll talk about that later. That's really important. But for both of you, so you chose a master's degree because of the environmental aspect of the things that you wanted to do. You chose a PhD because you're really interested in research and moving forward. What do you see as the reason for, okay, somebody should pursue a master's degree versus a PhD?
Yeah, that continues with my story actually, is that once I got the master's, I was okay, like and we were saying about that part of oh, I got the expertise, now I want to go. I was doing these research projects, and then I went back to my hometown during the pandemic, and I was actually working. I was working in my previous university. They have a scientific park, and I was basically working a lot of for a water lab, basically for a water treatment. We wanted to get the certifications, and I was working leading some students and stuff. And it was all of the other people were that were in the research part were PhDs, and I was the only one with the masters. And of course there was the people in the economics department, law department, and everything, but I was the only one with the masters. And I reached a point where if I wanted to go higher in this specific area, if I wanted to continue doing research, I needed the PhD. So it was not just that I wanted to research, which I did want it. I realized that this more administrative position wasn't for me, just accumulating documents and making sure all the certifications were on time wasn't for me. I liked more the in hands and solving the problems. And I talked to the people there, everyone was a doctor. And they were yeah, I mean, if you want to, first of all, if you want to get a higher position, you need a PhD. And second, if you want to do research, you need a PhD. So that was what convinced me of now I reach a point in my career that if I want to push forward of what I want to do, I need to do the PhD.
What would you say the main differences are, Damith?
Yeah. So for me, for the masters, is basically whether you want to do masters or PhD is mainly with, I don't know, for me, it's pretty much like, do I really want to be in like academia area, like, research area, or like, I want to start building, solutions, like, come up with startups, practical aspect. And I was like, okay, I can't just with the undergraduate, I might lose like, missing some like building blocks of it, like, and I was like, okay, masters could be the solution. Like, PhD can be also, but then it's can be like extensive, like, I need to like, spend more years there. Like, what if I like do something like a 1 year or 2 year, like a master's program, and then get that whatever the knowledge that you can grab, and then you go out, like, start building solutions. So like, that's my point of view. Like, whether you want to do a master's or like a PhD, it's mainly with what you want to do in your life. Like, whether it's to be in that academia, or like, doing the research, or like, even if you want to do a like, start a business, you can do a PhD still, make, come up with something. It doesn't really make any difference. Like, it just like, the time, matter of time, like, how much time you have, or like, what you really want to do in your life. So that's for me. I was like, okay, masters could be my best choice, because at that time what I realized was in Sri Lanka, we don't see real like, professions, or like, profess in this specific area. I really see that gap, like, this carbon markets or this area. So I was like, okay, so this could be the solution. Like, get be in a place that has the knowledge, that has the people who know what they do, and then get that knowledge, go back to your country, and then like, give it back to your community, and then like start something. So then that will make that change or difference. So that's pretty much about, for me, selecting masters over PhD.
And I want to acknowledge that we've kind of talked about grad school is important, right? Because depending on your career objectives, it's going to set you up for success in a lot of ways. But I do want to acknowledge that it can be expensive. It can be time consuming. Not everyone, it's not really a choice for everyone, right? Some people don't have that choice. And so I wanted to talk to you both about kind of the approaches that you did. So Damith, I know you applied to Fulbright and you were selected for that. And then Manuel, I know you pursued a degree in Europe. And so talk a little bit about sort of the financial part of the grad school journey for y'all, and what are some ways that people can think about grad school, maybe in a way that's outside of the box, that they can figure out how to fund this journey if that's what is important for them.
Yeah. My master's in Germany was actually, I had a similar to like what would be the NSF. Mexico has something called CONACYT.
Okay.
Now they switched the names, but it used to be
It's kind of seat with an H, right?
yeah. But it was CONACYT, and in like with the German NSF, the TAD that I previously mentioned, they had a collaboration.
Okay.
So it was like masters and PhDs in Germany funded. It was like 50-50
Okay.
by both organizations, and you apply, and that's how it was funded. In addition, I think there's other programs that CONACYT has also for Coming to Rise and for others. So that's normally, I think the way to go is like the government is what it funded. And also because at that time, like I didn't knew that like you had the stipend.
Yeah.
Like that thing of like, if, for example, in Mexico, if you want to pursue a PhD, normally, or at least in the university I come from, it used to be like, oh, you enter the program and then you get like a scholarship by CONACYT. And those are the ones that CONACYT is the one giving you the sponsorship.
I see.
So similar, like you would have to have NSF if we look at it in the American perspective. And so when I was like looking at the process of the application for the PhD, the advantage I had was that since I came here to work, I got to talk to a lot of the professors. So they were the ones who explained me like, no, like, because I was like, oh, so I need to apply, like, to where do I apply for the funding? And they were like, no, there's something called stipend. And then it's like, if you get admitted to the university, that's guaranteed. Of course, if you get like NSF besides you, well, I'm not American, so I can't, but if you get like extra funding from your country or from another organization, you will get certain benefits. Like, for example, like if you want to join specific labs, even if the lab for some reason doesn't have the funding, you can join because you come with your own funding. And at the same time, a lot of the times they get like extra perks or they earn a tiny bit more. So yeah, it's always an idea that I recommend is like, even though the stipend is guaranteed and it's good to have that as a baseline, if you can get extra funding from other resources, and also looks good in your CV.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. That's a question I get a lot in webinars. Is you're telling me that I get paid to go to a PhD program? Yes. And so the reason is you're doing research work for the university. Where that money comes from, it can come from a lot of different places. But generally, your advisor, your department is going to be funding you to do this research for your PI while you're a PhD student. The stipend levels range wildly between universities, between programs, and we could talk about that a little more as well. But it's really, I think that's a really good thing to note. So. And then, Demith, you have a little bit different of a journey.
Yes, yes. So before I do the masters, one thing in my head was I need to realize I was like, okay, because I came from a South Asian country, compared to the exchange rates, it's like over the roof if you want to do a master's in a country like USA. So I know for a fact, okay, my family can't afford it, so I need to find a way to finance my master's. So and then at the same time I was realizing, okay, it is not going to be I can't do 3 different jobs, okay, go there, do 3 different jobs and then make money and then do, because the main point of doing a master's is you get the knowledge, understand what's really happening there. If it's just you go to classes, or the next thing is you do 3 different jobs, you don't have a time to spend on the real thing that you're doing. So I was like, okay, I need to figure this out first. And then I was looking to different opportunities in Sri Lanka, because I was like, okay, for a fact there I heard there are scholarships and everything available. And there are multiple options, not only USA, some other countries. And in USA, I was like, okay, Fulbright, they already do this awareness program in our universities and all. I was like, okay, what if I tried that? It's a full scholarship. And I was like, okay, it could be just a full scholarship, just they will be funding my tuition fee. And I realized, no, it's not just that, they will be give a siphon for my living expenses. And then on on top of that, the big community, it not just 1 or 2 people, it's people doing this for years. There's a huge community. I was like, okay, this could be really big potential, if I could apply and get selected. And that's where I started, okay, Fulbright is my way to go. Apply, got selected. I mean, it's really competitive, but if you are the right person, they will be definitely give you the opportunity. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And then that's why I'm here today, because it's basically let me focus on my studies. It's give that freedom, that time that you really required to focus. Then you could do something really for the community and for society or for yourself. So in my point of view, it's just you have to make sure, no matter whether you do a PhD or master's, you have to first figure out your financials. It's not going to be you have to make sure it's not going to be stress or burden for you, coming years, because we never know what's going to happen in the world. World with a full uncertainty, you never know what's happening. So you have to always be ready and to make sure, okay, you are good in that period of time, whether you when you're doing your master's or PhD. So yeah.
And the finances are a really important part of grad school, I think. And so you should always ask about scholarships. That's not going to count against you. It's really important that programs are transparent about what they can offer. And also I'll ask about funding and fellowship opportunities as well. I think from these national organizations or from private foundations that are giving this funding is really important to pursue those as a graduate student. Not only because it helps you pay for grad school, but it does help you look a lot more competitive on an application as well.
Yeah, but in addition with what Damit was saying is a lot of people they don't realize how time consuming and this is a job.
Yes,
This is not and people is oh, so you're going to school, so and then it's what, and then in the afternoon do you go to work? Also I'm here similar to a 9 to 5 and even further. I wish I had a 9 to 5 at this point.
So close to being done.
Yeah, but it's one of those things oh, so you go there's some times that you stay longer.
Right.
Yes, you have some time benefits of since it's not a 9 to 5, you can manage your time in a different way and you get those benefits, but it's a very intensive job and it's a lot of work, and it's not just learning, it's doing the research and applying and going to conferences and presenting your work and meeting people, network. It's an entire job.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I had in with the coffee chats that we also offer, so check the website. Promotions.
Like and subscribe below.
Yeah, it's plug there. We get that question of oh, I'm currently working in this organization, so do you think I can do my PhD and at the same time keep working? I mean, I'm not telling you can't, but reconsider certain things. This is a full-time job.
Yeah.
This is a commitment. So when you're thinking about master's, grad school, this is your focus. There's professional masters that are for people that work, so there's also that opportunity. But if you want to go like full in, it comes with sacrifices. But that's why, like, at the same time, you get the stipend, you get things like Fulbright that can help you, like, so that you don't need to be working at the same time.
It's probably good to break down what exactly the day-to-day looks like also for master's versus PhD. So Damith, I know you're pretty much in coursework all the time, and maybe some other activities as well, like entrepreneurial. And then and for PhD, it's very different. The first 2 years are really about coursework, but then the rest of that time you're in the lab doing research. That is your 9 to 5, essentially. That's what it is. So did I get that right? Is there anything that you would change or add to that description? Things that were surprising to you when you started this process?
Yeah,
The
for me, I was like, okay, in the beginning, like, okay, I select the master. So, like, I think everything's set up, like, the timetable is set up. Okay, I just need to go to the classes, like, when they started. And I realized, oh no, like, there's something called electives that you had to do it, because in Sri Lanka, like, it's pretty much like, everything pre-scheduled. So you like just need to go, like, they give you the timetable and you go to the classes. But here you had to come up with your, okay, you schedule it, like, you select what you want to do, and then, like, but you have this required module to do. Anyhow, you have to finish it, and you have a time, like, over the, like, 4 semesters, so, like, whatever semesters you can, like, drag it, or, like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, oh, because in the first semester, that was the first mistake I done, because I was like, oh, I had to finish everything, and I was like, select most of the required and electives, like, so my first semester is like full of courses, like,
Oh,
I have a
wow.
classes every single day. And my friend was like, are you sure you can do this? I was like, in Sri Lanka, I did, like, 21 credits. I feel like this is easy. And my professor was like, in the beginning, no, you can't do more than 20, like, 18, like, credits. We are not, like, allowing that. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll reduce to 16 then. Okay, I did 16, and I realized it's hard.
Yeah.
So it's like, I understand, okay, then you need to listen to your, like, advisors. They are saying something they know. Like, you can't, like, if they say you can't, you need, like, you need to listen to them. So I realized it, listen, and then my next semester onward, I, like, kind of split it out, like, spread it out to my other semester. So then now it feels like very easy, because you have some free days, and then you can focus on, because right now, not while doing my masters, I'm doing also, like, one research with one of the lab here. That's why also, like, one thing I really want to highlight, because if you really want to, like, start something, there are professors out there, like, helping you, like, open the doors to, okay, come, you can actually start, like, I actually start something like that. So because of this free time, so I can basically manage, like, okay, I'll spend this hours, like, at my lab, and then, like, okay, these days I will be focusing on my studies. So that's the only thing that I want to add to what you said, like, yeah.
I didn't realize there was so much freedom of choice in, like, the American system versus international. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Wow.
Yeah, during my undergrad was the same. If you want to be a chemist, you take these classes.
Yeah,
and even
It's
this,
time and show up.
and this is
Yeah.
like first semester is these classes, second semester is like
Yeah.
on your last 3 semesters, you get to choose between like 6 classes. You
Yeah.
take 2,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
2 each semester.
Yeah.
But it's like at the
Exactly.
end. But it's like, oh, but I don't want to be an organic chemist. You have to take 6 organics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
You
it's
can't
not
avoid.
negotiable.
Oh, I see. Okay. Wow.
You
So-
must do.
Yeah,
No
it's-
matter you hate, you must do.
Yeah, it's part of the requirements to
People
get
love
to the
organic chemistry, though. I've heard it's very fun.
But yeah, like, also what the mid was saying is, like, yeah, the jump is real.
Mm.
Like, that part of, like, oh, in undergrads I had always A's and I was the best and everything. Like, once you come here, like, I'm not saying you cannot get an A, like, or great. I think the system is very well, especially like that. But it's like, oh, I used to take 7 classes a day, like, easy peasy. And then you take the first class and you're drained.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Like, because
That's
it's
like the same thing for me. Same experience. The first day I was like, oh, okay. I need to, okay, I have 5 more classes remaining in that day. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And now I realized, okay, why that my professor, my advice said, don't do that. And I was too late for that, like, even to withdraw, because even withdraw, I had to pay, like, I was like, okay, this is my mistake. I'll continue.
Yeah, but it's that thing of, like, you have to understand that, like, now you're, like, what you learn on, like, in the undergrad and in other classes is, like, the general stuff, the basis for you to, now you're going to the deep stuff. So especially like in STEM fields that like you learn like the hypothesis and the theories, and it's like the general knowledge is like, okay, now we're gonna tell you why none of them work. Instead you go to all those nitty gritty where they tell you like, it just be like, oh, this is this rule. There's these cases where it doesn't work. No, now we're gonna talk about those cases.
Oh no.
So it's a lot of that. Like
Yes.
the other thing that I didn't knew, or that it wasn't expected for me, was that in the PhD you have to do something called TA. You have to be a teaching assistant because they're also teaching you for the possibility of if you want to be a teacher. If you instead of want to be just a PI and have your own lab, which teaching is also part of it, if you want to become a professor, that it's only for teaching, that it does research, but it's also just teaching.
Yeah.
A faculty position. So
And not every program, I think, does TA as a requirement.
no, not all of
Yeah.
them. In a lot of them is mandatory. In some cases, it's optional.
In some cases, you can request that. If that's
Yeah.
something that you're really passionate about and you want to be a teacher, then you should request to be a TA.
Yeah, and in chemistry, it's mandatory. You have to do 1 year and a half, so 3 semesters. They're split in your first 2 years. You have to do it. How it splits, it depends on availability of the course you want to teach. But it's a lot of it was one of those things of oh, I had experience mentoring, 1-to-1, with undergrads but having an entire group was are you just leaving me here with them?
What do I do?
So it was I remember the first class, I was like, I'm not trained for this. Are you sure you're leaving the right person? Shouldn't you wait till you train me a tiny bit more to leave me? But at the end of the day, I think it's manageable. First of all, there's a professor behind you. They don't just abandon you, like I'm saying. But at the same time, it's it gives you that experience of if you get to know, you will know if you like teaching or not. And I've seen a lot of people that after those 3 semesters, they do more because they realize that this is their passion. So instead of following the PI route, they follow the route of I want to be a teaching assistant forever and then become a professor that is just for teaching, a faculty position for teaching.
I want to go back to something that kind of both of you touched on, which is, the workload of being a grad student. But you do need to have fun, right? You do need to be able to do other things as well. You're both grad student ambassadors, and so that does take some time every semester. So talk a little bit about the work-life balance of being a grad student. And then also, this is maybe a little bit of a divergence of a topic, but you had mentioned teaching and, oh gosh, what am I going to do about training? But we do have resources for that on campus, and there is support, and so you could do that as kind of electives as well. So maybe talk a little bit about all of that if that wasn't a big enough topic.
Yeah, I think here's where the PhD and the masters will differ a lot because of the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
The masters is 2 years, so it's more compressed, while the PhD is 5. So after your second year, you're done with classes and TA normally under regular circumstances. So your third year forward is just research. You have seminars and some other mandatory things, but it's not that much of time consuming. So you become kind of master of your time. And it's one of the skills that you're supposed to learn in a PhD. That is time management, that you're no longer restricted by, oh, I have to follow this schedule. And especially depending on the lab you join or what's the philosophy of the lab. I work in a lab where it's your timetable. It's you present the results when it's your time to present. When you come, how you come is your own responsibility. You're now a professional. Now you have to be responsible of how you lead your own project and how you follow your life. So that gives you, of course, sometimes the ability of am I going enough? Which normally you do. But at the same time, it gives you the flexibility because there are days that for example, yesterday for me, nothing worked out. I broke stuff. Things went, no, it was horrible. And it's okay, no, I'm done for today. Otherwise, I'm going to keep making a mess. I need to go out. But there's also days right now we have the World Cup. Hey, Houston.
Yep.
And it's I want to watch the games of my country. I want to support my country. There's this very good game of for example, right now, Portugal, Croatia. Oh, I do want to watch that game. So, and it's for what I do is that I schedule my lunch on that hour, and that way I can enjoy the game, eat my lunch, but then I can watch the game, and I know that I did my work in the morning, and I don't have that pressure, because I'm the master of my time in this case, and I think that's something that the PhD gives you, and that expects from you.
Yeah. So for me, okay, so when I came 2022, I realized, okay, they have a seasons, because in Sri Lanka we never have a season. So like, pretty much like, all year you have like, something to do, like, and I was like, okay, now it feels like I can like, spend more time, or like, in these like, seasons, like, in summer, like, in fall break or winter break, you have different thing you can do. And I was like, before I come here, because in 2022, and then when I came here in like, 2025, I was like, okay, my main goal is to like, during my breaks, I will be definitely covering more national parks. I want to see more national parks in USA. I want to experience this.
That is a great goal.
Yes.
I love that goal.
Yes. And also like, to go more states, because I know, okay, the 50 states, I want to cover more states.
And they're also different, right?
Yes. Pretty like that's just like, okay, I was like in the beginning I was like, oh, I mean, it's the same country, it's supposed to be same thing, right? And when I go to like, Arizona to like, Utah to New York to Washington, I was like, oh my god, it feels like a different like a geography, people, like, like even in Utah I feel like, there's like they have this like, little Switzerland or like something like that. It's like, very different, like it's a farm and it's full of cheese. I never expected in the middle of Utah, and it's a different thing I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, during my like, period, as he mentioned, like, I also like, okay, what I can do in today, like, is there anything special happening around? Because, Fulbright, we have a lot of different events, and like, I really love that, like, that community, the events that we have, I really love that. Like, it's really helped me. Like, even sometimes, as you mentioned, like, you are like really stressed. Like, nothing going your way. Like, you don't know what's happening. And then going to these events, it's totally like, change you, like, calm you down. Like, as a, you start smiling, it's like, it starts changing, that's really helping you. Because imagine you come to class, sit down, go back, come. Nothing is like, it's just nothing, like there's nothing different, like, new thing. No. So I always like, free, if I have a free break or vacation, okay, definitely covering those.
Right.
Go to new state. That's my goal. And then during my like, semester, like, to see what's happening. What is happening in this semester, or like, what is happening this year. So especially, right now, FIFA, like, I was like, okay, I need to cover. I'm supporting Portugal. Like, I really love Cristiano and all. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to support it every match. That's my goal. And to go at least one match. And I will be going to one match in coming up, the Morocco and Canada match. I was like, okay, I'm so excited to see first ever World Cup match. So like, that's also like one thing. So likewise, I always like, make sure my free time is spending on something special. Like, doing my ambassador program, like, sharing that words to other people, like, how special rice is, like, it's also important for me. And then to see some other roles that are available, like, inside the rice that I can contribute, as a person, as an individual. So like, that's pretty much, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your rice impressions so far. So Manuel, you were like, this is the one place I apply. And I know with you for Fulbright, there's a structure around how you select the university. So what about rice was like, all right, this is a place, I'm going to do this?
Yes. So for me, in the beginning, they were like, okay, you had to like select at least 5 universities. So then the Fulbright, and then like, they will be guide you, like, what they can do, like, with the, like, they have the budget, so like they have the budget, and then like, they were like, okay, so we had to like look into different angles and what you really want to do, where you fit perfectly. And I got, I think, 3 acceptance from 3 different universities. And why I select rice? First thing was like, I had a like, I had a chat with you, and then like also my advisor beginning, and I see the difference. Like when I had these calls, I see the difference from like, different universities, like, what's their approach to you. And then I feel the connection with rice from the 2 calls that I had, like, online. And then from there, like, when they said, okay, we can like, waive your tuition fee, like, that's really helps me. Like, it's like, okay, even if I have scholarship issue with the Fulbright, because at that time there's like sort of issue with the government changing with the Fulbright and all, like, there's like a lot of things going on. I was like, okay, I think this is a good protection for me, because, if rice is really, like, they really like, giving me opportunity to come, then I was like, why not? And then I was start to looking around like Houston, how it looked like, what's around. And I feel like, okay, it's an energy center and the biggest hospital system in the world. And then I was like, okay, this could be the way, like, this could be the place that I can like, grow up, like, learn more things, and then networking, like, and that's how I basically end up at Rice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had the previous experience
Yes,
working,
that's right. Yeah.
but I mean, I said like I was gonna apply. I only applied to Rice, but like my idea was like if I don't get into Rice, I was gonna go back to Europe. So
Yeah.
to be fair, like my aim was because at that point it was like again for Europe is like you can technically enter the PhD at any time, like since it's like professor based, or at least with the universities I was.
You mean in
con-
terms of a timeline? You don't have to wait for August applications to
No.
come in at all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean because you don't apply per se to the university. It depends more or like I cannot say it's like that for every country or for every university, but like in the ones I've been and in the ones that I had chats even with professors or opportunities. So yeah, I mean what I liked about Rice in general was that community and the size. It sounds weird, but like my university in my home state, we have a total of 5 campuses. Like the university is so big that it has to be divided in 5 different areas. Some of them are even in different cities because of the size of the
Do
university.
you want to give a shout out to your?
Oh yeah, la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo. Let's go. Not everyone comes from Tec de Monterrey. Sorry to ruin the dream. But yeah, it's a very big university. Like where I was, it was only engineering. So it was IGB, and it was basically only engineering. Economics was in another area. All the humanities and health was in different like areas. So they had to be spread all around the city. So I had friends in economics, and it's like you're in the completely different side of the world. If I want to visit you, so I will see you very few. And the same with the doctors. So it was like that. And here's like, oh, I just cross campus and I can meet everyone. And that's one of the things. The second is like, again, I did my master's in Europe, so seeing my family was very complicated. Like it's a at least 12-hour flight.
Oh yeah.
So like Houston, it's only 2
Two
hours.
airports much closer.
Yeah. I mean, possible. I wouldn't do it, but it's 24 hours driving, so it is possible to drive if I was crazy enough. But it's one of those things that is like, and at the same time, I mean, I saw the resources this university has. Like the states in terms of research in general, like any university, you can see the power they have. So that's also one of the things. Like it's close to home. It's a campus that I like. It's a community that it's close, and at the same time, it has the resources to do things that I could never imagine. And at the same time, like one of the things I did check because I asked the professors was like, "What's the size of your classes?" Just out of curiosity, and I saw that like even the field ones with like undergrads, like the classroom is like, okay, big class of at least for graduate students. Oh, there's 12 people. Like I took classes in Germany where it was like an entire seminar room.
Yeah.
And it was like at that point, if you want to ask a question, you had to wait for the professor and you have to chase him to his office. Which I mean, I get it. They're busy people and they're getting like questions from 200 people. So I get it. It's hard. Well, here, for me, the fact that I can walk and see the director of the entire university, like just walking
Yeah.
or like well jogging, and then I meet Dean Matsuda just walking around
Yes.
and I say hi to him is something that is like that connection. The OISS as an international, the Office of International Students, the fact that I can just like open a door, go in, and there have been times that I end up with the director like just one-on-one chatting because like, oh, don't worry, we will fix your problem. We will get you to the person how high we have to go to fix it. And that's something that I really like, that treat of like, I'm not just a number. I'm not just one in this university. Like I matter.
Yeah, Rice is a small institution, right? We have what 8,500 students, roughly split between grad and undergrad, and I have found people to be very approachable on the staff level, on the faculty level, administrative level. So, really echo that as well. I do want to talk a little bit about timeline because you had mentioned that as well and the application process. But before we get into that, we talked about Rice. Should we talk about Houston a little bit and kind of what you thought before you got here and now that you've lived here for you almost a year, for you about 5 years? What's it been like for you? What are some highs and lows and surprises that you've found?
Boom.
Lows probably the weather. We talked about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, for me, the weather
Very,
actually.
very hot.
Yeah, and also I come from a city that is actually quite cold. They call it the beautiful windy for a reason. And I mean, after that, I don't think Germany and Finland are particularly warm. So, well, I mean, in comparison, and the humidity. But we can talk. Well, that's another topic. I mean, for me, it almost feels like it never left Mexico. I mean, the Latino community here is huge. So that was also a big plus. I can get anything I would want from my hometown. I can get it here. Well, almost everything. The big shock, as you've, like, is the highways and the car system. Like, the fact that it's like there's a highway in the middle of the city, like, and everything crosses by crazy highways, and it was one of those things that it was very shocking.
It's massive.
Yeah. And I'm also very used to cities being that the touristy areas or where you want to see, you go to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. You go to I'm lost in a city. Where do you go? You go downtown. You are gonna see churches and museums and things like that. And then here you go downtown and see buildings, and it's like, oh, what? But then you come out to the museum area and then you see all of that, and it's like, oh, what happened?
And
So-
it's not far from Rice, which is really nice. It's
Yeah.
convenient, yeah.
yeah, but it's one of those things that is like, I feel Houston, or at least American cities, I've seen that they are their own unique world.
Mhm.
What Damith was saying of like, they're like Europe, like all the countries are small. So like you travel, where I was living, like you travel 2 hours and I was in the Netherlands. I was in Brussels, 6 hours. I was in Paris. So it's those types of things that is like, it's the same here. Like you can travel 6 hours, you're still in Texas.
Still in Texas. But a very, very different part of Texas.
Oh yeah. But it's that thing of like, here the travels, like you go to another state and you could consider it its own country,
Right.
and the weather is different, the culture is different, like the things you see is, so it's very impressive. And I think Houston, like, still, like, first of all, the food.
Mm,
Let me tell you, like, you can find food from anywhere in the world, which impressive.
And it's all good, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've never had a bad meal in Houston. Never.
No. H-E-B is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
H-E-B is a grocery store here in Texas.
oh yeah. So, yeah, like, it's one of those things that is like, if I leave Houston, like, now when I graduate, it's like, I'm gonna miss H-E-B so much. So yeah, it's but I think like overall, like that was like what impacted me the most was the distances, like the highway, the how everything is distributed like in sections, and yeah, the amount of food and the quality of the food of Houston like really caught my eye.
Well, while we're on the topic of how big Houston is, so do you have a car?
No,
No car. So you've done the whole time without a car. And Damith, same,
No.
right? Yeah. So how has that been? It seems like it's workable.
it is. It is with certain like
limitations and
Yeah.
like your network, like so like around campus you have the metro, you have the buses that you want to go to, like to downtown or like some other places to groceries. Yeah, you have that. Let's say you want to go to Sugarland or like somewhere outside, then you definitely need something,
Right.
like someone help, like and that also, like I think because the community, like all my other friends, they're either from USA or like they have a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime, like when I ask for like help, like I have this, can you come with me for this one? Because for me, when I'm doing this like research, I had to like go to this brewery station, like to like, because we had to collect some beer soda and no, and then because I can't definitely do it with the metro bus, and I need someone help. So like whenever I ask for help, there is someone always helping. So
Okay.
like that's why I'm saying like the community is really helpful here. Like when you have friends like that, it's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of you asking for that help. And also one thing I realized when I came here to Houston, like in Houston we had I think second or third largest Sri Lankan community.
Really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
I didn't know that either.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, because I went to this like they had this like special like Sri Lankan events in the Buddhist temple like in Houston Buddha Vihara, and I see this like hundreds of people, like families are coming here from Sri Lanka, like they migrated or like they live, they work here, and it's very different. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense, because the climate is okay, like you can bearable, like manage it with like sometimes the weather is over like too much hot, but still like you can manage it. And that really helps me as well, because whenever I need something from Sri Lanka, or like something, like someone who knows of me, like my community, my like culture, I can get that help.
Yeah.
That's really, really helped me. Like, throughout this 1 year, that's one of the main thing that I want to highlight. Coming to Rice is my best option and the best decision I make because of that. That also really helps. And what else? So, like, yeah, as you mentioned, the highways is crazy. You go and you see like 40 different like things goes up, like like what's happening, like sometimes you lost, like
Yeah.
the moment you take a one, like in Sri Lanka, it's okay, you lost one, like you miss one exit, you can turn, you can come back. And here you miss one exit, the next exit is like 30 miles away.
And then you're in San Antonio.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, oh my god, you have to be very careful when you're driving, that's you need to be do this and that. And also one thing I really, it's sometimes funny, the stop sign, like, stop signs. In Sri Lanka, like, we don't really have a stop signs. We just, like, go. It's like driving in Sri Lanka is crazy, And here, so me and my friend, so like he's from Argentina and I'm from Sri Lanka, we never stop in stop sign. And then one day, my friend got a ticket because he didn't stop at a stop sign in a scooter
that'll happen.
from my RUPD, and he got a warning and everything. It was so funny. I was like, okay, today onwards, I'm going to stop at the stop sign. So that's, I just want to.
I'm gonna need to know offline who this is. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
some guesses.
Yeah, I mean, like coming back to the needing a car or not needing a car, which I mean, Damith put it perfectly. Here, you can have like with so many people here in the community, you can always get help. I mean, another shameless plug. Check grad student blogs. That I wrote one about exactly that. It comes with a lot of trade-offs. I think one of the few things the pandemic left us is that now delivery services are actually pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
For example, HEB.
delivery.
Highlight again.
Yep.
You could be
Yeah.
sponsoring this podcast. Yeah, I'm abusing my powers.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. I can get my groceries delivered home.
Yeah.
And I can program them so that they come on a weekend at a specific hour,
Yeah.
and I can still get the coupons, like coupon culture in the
Yes.
States. Amazing.
Yes.
Another highlight.
We'll talk about that in
Yeah.
a future podcast.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that is like I can get almost anything delivered home, which simplifies. Like you can take a bus, you can take everything, but like taking a bus and coming back with bags with the Keystone heat in the
Yeah.
summer,
Yeah.
not fun. Good for gym,
No.
but not very
Yeah.
fun.
Wasn't it Liz Lemon who was like, "Do I have to go to a place to do a thing? Please don't make me do that." That's where I am mentally too. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that is like it's very it you can do it. Like it's one of those things like of course I actually like doing groceries at 8 a.m. when there's no one. But I like doing groceries. I like checking the tags, selecting my produce myself. I have to give up that, but I can get everything delivered home. And they do a pretty good job. You can put notes in the app to like, please make sure it's this, like, please make sure that. If they don't find this, get me this substitute. So, yeah. And then, for example, you can even get the pharmacy delivered at home at this point. So it's one of those things that is like, it comes with some trade-offs of like he was saying, like if you want to go to Pearland, if you want to go to like certain places are a bit far. So even like in a car would be like a 15-minute drive, in the bus or the metro would be at least like 40. So it comes with those trade-offs. But for example, especially where Rice is and the medical center where I think like all the cool stuff are, you can arrive like with not need of a car, and actually it's better to not have a car because the parking situation is a mess.
Yeah.
Like you want to go to the stadium, taking your car is
Oh my God, that's like
no, don't do it.
And it's expensive
Yeah.
too, right? To
Yeah.
park in different places.
Yeah, you want to go to a baseball game
Yeah.
in downtown, drive there, they close the streets.
Metro.
Not
so
a good
much
idea.
easier. Yeah. You
So-
take the light rail every time.
You don't pay parking, you don't pay insurance. So it comes with its benefits. Of course, having a car, especially now with the heat or when it's rainy, of course, it's better to have it than not have it, but you can live very well without one. I've been here for 5 years, and there has been days that I'm like, it would be nice, but there hasn't been a single day that I'm like, I must buy a car.
And have y'all ever used Zipcar since you've been here?
I think once,
Yeah.
like only once, we just had to use this for like go somewhere. So that's only time we use a Zipcar. Yeah.
But it is useful because if you just
Yeah.
want to grab a car for a day and you have like some other shopping to do, you can do that as
Yeah,
well.
when my parents came here for visiting me in one holiday, and they rented a car.
Okay.
So like we could actually go like to the outlets, to NASA, to like
Yeah.
I mean the things that are further.
Right.
But even like when they were like we were gonna go like they want to come and visit campus, they were like, oh, should like get into the car, and I was like, we're in 10 minutes by metro, and we don't have to figure out parking, traffic, anything. And they were like, oh, okay. And then we just went in metro.
It's incredibly good. I mean, I live in about an hour from campus, but I used to take Park and Ride all the time, and it was so convenient. It just is, it's a good system. So, well, we've covered a lot. So we've talked about your journeys to grad school. We've talked about differences between master's and PhD. I do want to ask you, you've been in this process now for a little bit for Manuel, and then for Damith for about a year. So what is any surprises? Anything that you're like, wow, didn't expect this from grad school? We talked a little bit about this already, but what have I missed? What did we miss talking about?
I think for me was the jump.
Mm.
The jump was very surprising, especially since I already did the masters. I was like, piece of cake. Like I already lived this. I already know like taking classes. I already know doing individual research. But actually doing it like Damith was saying, of like you're becoming like the expert and everything, like you start funneling to the point of like you're becoming like the expert, like the supreme expert of a very specific niche. And that comes with so many things of like there's so much perseverance, there's so much drive that you have to finish one. So yes, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Masters and PhD are hard. Grad school is hard, just by its own nature. You're taking that next step, that next level. So it's not impossible, but it's gonna take a lot of effort. So you have to come up with that mindset of like you might have been like an ace student and the best in your class in undergrad, and I think because of that you think like the jump is gonna be easy, but you have to think like I don't know if any of you or any in general watch the NFL or college football. That is like it's like I remember one of the coaches. This is a weird segue, but he transitioned from college football to the NFL, and his statement was like, "Oh, every weekend is like playing Alabama." It's like, yeah, because they're the best players from all this pool is playing in those teams.
Yep.
This is the same thing.
You're leveling up.
Like everyone that applied here used to be the best in his school, in their school. There used to be like all the A students are now gathered together. And I'm not saying it's competition. I'm just saying that what is expected from you is that excellence and that your drive to push it forward. So it's a lot of like pushing through, and there's gonna be hard times, there's gonna be good times, and it's a lot of like managing those.
Right.
Like the bads are gonna be bad, but the goods are gonna be very good.
Right.
So it's balancing it and like that, like taking your time in days that not, and you feel that fear of like I could be working, but I'm here like not working, and it's like no, life is not just working. It's
Right.
like because you're not working, you're gonna perform better the next day. Because that day that everything is failing, if you keep doing, you're gonna fail even worse.
You
So-
need to have grit. You need to have perseverance.
Yeah.
You need to be able, when vials explode in your hand one day, you need to be able to come in the next day and say, "It's a new day." That's all right.
Yep. And learn from it, and learn that like at the end of the day, you have one life, you have one time, and it's like make the best out of it.
Yep.
And it's like
Absolutely.
learn, enjoy. The moment you stop enjoying what you're doing, it's pointless to do it.
This is the motivational part of the show.
Oh yeah.
Now you.
Yes. For me, the first surprise was like, like in my first class, I was like, okay, I expecting everyone be like, master's or graduate student. And there was like undergraduates also.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like, because in Sri Lanka, we never had that. Like, that
Mm,
environment.
Very
Like,
separate.
Yes. I was like, wait, what? Okay, because the friend next to me, she was like undergraduate. Like, she was I guess I think sophomore. Oh wow, we were like the same classes. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, because that's supposed to be the education. Like like you everyone like learn something new, and that makes me really surprised. Okay, this could be the thing. And apart from that, like everything else, like pretty much like I kind of get used to it. Like I was like, okay, I expected that. Okay,
Right.
this could be the thing. And I think I don't know whether the meal plans come into play. The meal plan, because I was like, okay, meal plans. I think okay, nobody gonna get that. I mean, like it's gonna expensive.
So good. I
Yes.
wish I could get
And
one.
and I was like, oh wow, this actually helps me because
Uh-huh.
thanks to Fulbright, like they gave us like the first semester, okay, like some sort of meal plan, so that's really helps us because like sometimes, as you mentioned, you don't have a time like to cook, or like you will be starving like entire day, but because of this meal plan, it really helps you. Like you can just go grab something, eat, and then like go back, continue work. And that's also surprised me. I mean, Valhalla surprised me for real.
You want to tell us about Valhalla? What is Valhalla?
Oh
For
my
those
god, yeah,
that are
that's
not initiated?
that's the student run, the beer, like the bar inside the campus. I never expected that.
And it's only for grad
The
students.
grad students, sorry,
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
grad for grad.
Well,
students.
and faculty
Yeah,
that
grad
don't.
students,
but-
and, grad students and friends. Let's
Yeah,
put
yeah,
it
grad
that way.
the
students.
grad student community.
Yeah.
Correct, and that's really surprised me. I was like, what, inside the university? And that's really, really nice. Like,
Yeah.
when you go to like, during Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you see it's like full of people in the evening, like, come here to talk about the life and everything, what went wrong, and then like what's like the really like, stress. Like we talk different things.
Yeah.
That's really, really, it's a different community at Valhalla. So yeah.
And also, that besides Valhalla is the Grad Commons.
Yes.
That is like the area where like the events for grad
Yes,
students are.
yes.
So at the same time, it's like you have the Valhalla, the
Yes.
community and everything, and then you go out, and it's like, and then you meet people like from other areas, and you see each other, and then we have like their like events like Halloween or like
Correct.
so. It adds that extra layer of community that sometimes we need, an inside campus that we don't have to go very far to have it.
Correct.
It's an unusual thing to talk about, like a bar being the center of some kind of academic life, but it really is here, and you don't have to drink. I mean, I don't drink, and
Me too.
love to go have a Topo Chico and sit there, and when I sit there when it's not too hot out. But it is a place. I think you know when you go to class, when you're in the lab, you're kind of very confined to one space with one group of people, and Valhalla breaks people out of that. It's just everyone all over campus in the grad community is coming to hang out and talk about their lives and talk about their labs and their research and all those things. So I think it's really important, and it's a really beautiful part of Rice. That's Beyond the Abstract. This is a Rice Graduate podcast, an official look inside Rice University, and we will see you next time.